Hello, crochet friends, and welcome back to Country Mama Musings. Can you believe we are already at week 8 for our Heirloom Afghan crochet along? It is hard to believe, isn't it? I think this is going swimmingly, as my mother would have said. And this week we're going to be working on a very unique pattern. I shared this block with you in our tutorial where I went over some of the stitches with you, but here it is. We're going to be working on creating this beautiful chevron pattern. Makes these 3 beautiful little chevron arrows across our block. I have my color B already and a size H 5.0 crochet hook. This is the same size we've been using all along. And so to begin our pattern here for our chevron relief stitch, which is block 8 of our Afghan, we're going to crochet 25 loosely. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Now make these loose because we do want this to be a nice equal size with the blocks that we've done in the past. Try not to crochet this too tight because if you have to add to this, then you're adding a lot more because the repeat for this is going to be a multiple of 7 plus 4. So if you would like to make this any larger, you're going to make your chain in a multiple of 7 plus 4. So for instance, if I wanted to do something a bit larger than this, let's say we could take 7 times 8 is 56 and then add 4 and we would have a much larger piece with much more of those little chevrons across. But for today, we're just going to be working 25, which is a multiple of 7 times 3 plus 4. So hopefully that makes sense if you want to make larger pieces that you're understanding how that works. So this is going to be a nice little size block. We're going to compare it to block 2 once we get things going and make sure that our gauge is good. So moving on, let's do row 1. Row 1 is going to be a single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in each stitch across. So this is the first chain for the hook. This is our second chain from the hook. And we've discussed before, you don't want to go into the first chain because it's just going to be a moot point. You're just going to be pulling through a loop that's not going to do you any good because that's where your loop is from right now. So we're going to go past our first chain from the hook. We're going to go to our second chain from our hook and we're going to complete a single crochet. Now again, it's your choice. If you've joined us for our other blocks, you can either work in this back loop here, or if you're more comfortable, you can rotate and work in the bar, but you don't have to do that because we're going to be putting a border on this. But again, it is personal preference just based on how you learn to crochet. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. So we've got one single crochet. Let's get 24 of them on here. So here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now, this particular pattern for this block, I find it's very important that you really do focus on counting for each and every row just to make sure that you're right where you need to be. This is a little bit more intense and involved block, so make sure you're counting. So we have 24 single crochet across our block here. So we're going to chain 2 and turn our work, and we're going to start working on row 2. So for row 2, this is going to be all half double crochets across our work. We're going to work in the stitches here on the top, going through both the front loop and the back loop. So make sure you pick up both of those strands when you're working your stitches. And according to our pattern, we're going to start here in our first single crochet. So we're going to do a half double crochet right here, and it's going to count as our first one. So if you recall, a half double crochet is yarn over. We're going to go into our stitch here, making sure we pick up both the front loop and the back loop. Yarn over, pulling our yarn through so that we have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on our hook. Let's do that one more time. We're going to work into this next stitch right here. Yarn over, go into our stitch, making sure we get both the front loop and the back loop. Grabbing our yarn and pulling it back through, we have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. That's our second half double crochet. We want 24 half double crochets. I'm just going to go ahead and complete my 24 while counting to myself so I don't throw your stitch count off while we enjoy the music. This right here is 24 on my block, right there. Okay. So here we have row 2 completed, and this is going to tuck in a little bit right here just because that's our beginning chain, but don't worry, that's going to work out. So here we have our block started. We have row 1, which is single crochets, row 2, which are half double crochets, and I want to encourage you to do something at this point right here. I want you to either get a stitch marker or I want you to get a piece of yarn. Let me get a small piece of yarn here so I can show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so we have our row of 24 half double crochet. I want you to go back now. Let's remove our hook so we can use it as a tool now for what we need. I want you to go back to this row of these half double crochet, and I want you to locate the third half double crochet that we worked. Don't count your chain 2 up. We're not counting that. We're going to go over 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochet, and go to this third half double crochet. I want you to take your hook and go in between the second half double crochet and the third half double crochet and put your hook into your work. Don't go through the stitch. you're going to go in between the stitches. And once your hook is through the back, I want you to bring it right back around and come back through the front on the other side of that half double crochet. This is the third half double crochet that we worked in this row, and I want you to either take a stitch marker or just a short piece of yarn and pull that back through, because we're going to mark where this third half double crochet is, and this is going to be important as we start our block. I want you to take the 10 seconds to do this. You will thank me later, because we're going to need to know where this is when we come to row 4, and it's just much easier to have this marked so you know where you're at. So take the time to do that right now, and then we'll move forward. Okay, I'm going to load my hook back onto my yarn. We've just finished row 2. I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do row 3. Row 3 indicates on our pattern that we're going to do 24 single crochet all the way across our work, starting in our first stitch right here. So right here we're going to put our hook in and grab our yarn and pull it through. We have 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. And we're just going to continue that all the way across. There's 2, 3. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to continue across the row without counting my stitches so I don't throw your stitch count off, and I'll see you at the end. Three and 24. Something's got my dogs upset. I hope it's not that skunk. I hope the skunk's not back. Were some of you with me the day that my dog got sprayed by a skunk? It was funny. Okay, so we have rows 1, row 2, and row 3. Single crochet, half double crochet, single crochet. We're going to turn our work, and on row 4 is where our pattern's really going to start really requiring a lot of attention. So let's go ahead and let's do this, shall we? We're going to chain 2. We're going to turn our work. Okay, according to our pattern, we're going to half double crochet in the first 2 single crochet. So here's our first half double crochet. There's 1, and here's 2. And so now what we're going to do is this is our third single crochet, and we're going to work in the stitch directly below that, which is this one that we've already marked. It may not look like it because when you work your rows across, you get just the tiniest little bit of slant. So that's why we marked it, because I didn't want you confused trying to figure out where to put your next stitch. So we have our next stitched mark. What we're going to do now is we're going to work some front post double crochets in row 2, where the rest of our stuff's going to be worked up here in row 3. Every once in a while we're going to jump down here to row 2 to complete some front post double crochets. Now if you don't know how to work a front post double crochet, I'm going to stop you right here and encourage you to go back to the tutorial that we posted earlier in the week, and it will be the chevron relief stitch tutorial, and that will show you how to work a front post double crochet. However, you can continue right along with us here if you'd like, even if you've not watched the tutorial, and I will do my best to talk you through this so that it's not too confusing. So what we want to do is we want to work around this stitch right here. We're going to work around the post of this stitch. This is why we've marked it. And we're going to work a front post double crochet. So how a front post double crochet works is we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook, and we're going to go from the front of our work through this stitch and this stitch. We're going to go through right here, and then we're going to pop back up on the other side of the stitch with our hook, so we have the entire post of this stitch on our hook. We're not working through any front loops or back loops. We're going around this post from the front to the back to the front again. And once we're here, we're going to go ahead and grab our yarn and pull it back through. And I want you to really give yourself a lot of wiggle room on here, because we're going to have to build this stitch from the second row back up to the fourth row that we're actually working on. So give yourself a little wiggle room there. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops on our hook, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops on our hook, just like we're doing a double crochet. And look at this beautiful little, it reminds me of an infinity symbol, the way it wraps around itself like that. Now on the tutorial, I did this in alternating colors so you could see the beauty of the stitch. Working in our actual color, solid all the way through, it's not going to be as evident, but still be beautiful. Okay, so there's our first front post double crochet completed. According to our pattern, we need 2 of them, one right next to the other. So we already know that this stitch is marked. We don't even need this in here anymore, but I'm going to leave it just for reference sake. We're going to go to our very next stitch over right here, this half double crochet. We're not going back up here yet. We're sticking down here. We're going to do another front post double crochet right here. So we're going to wrap our yarn around. We're going to go in between the stitches, go behind and pop back up on the other side of it, and we've just captured that stitch that we wanted to work on, okay? We're going to do our front post double crochet around this post. We're going to grab our yarn and pull it back through, again giving ourselves a little wiggle room there. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And see, because we gave ourselves that little bit of wiggle room, we're able to bring these stitches right back up to the level where we are with our half double crochets across. So that's all we need right here, are just 2 of these front post double crochet. So continuing on with our pattern, our next stitch is going to be a half double crochet. Now here's a very important thing I want you to note, and we discussed this in our pattern. When you flip this work over, you're going to see that we skipped this single crochet and we skipped this single crochet because we didn't work here, we worked below down here. Well, according to our pattern, we want to put a half double crochet in our next stitch. I don't want you putting them here. These are not our next stitch. We did these stitches already. So our next stitch, in fact, is right here, this third one over. So you're going to skip 1, because that's a front post double crochet. We're going to skip 2 because we did a front post double crochet, and we're going to put a half double crochet right here in this third stitch here, going through the front loop and the back loop. So yarn over and into our work, pulling our yarn back through. We have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3. We've just completed our first half double crochet in this part of our sequence. Now we want to have 5 across, 1 in each stitch. So there's number 1. We're going to go the very next stitch over and complete a half double crochet. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. So our first sequence is 2 front post double crochet, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half double crochet. We're going to repeat that. We're going to repeat that here, and then we're going to repeat that here. So the next thing we want to do is we want to do a front post double crochet around the next stitch in row 2, all the way down here again. So let's take a look at what we've got here. Let me take my hook off. All the way down here is row 2. We did our first front post around this one. We did our second front post around this one, and then we did 5 half double crochets. So we need to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This right here, this stitch right here, this half double crochet, that one there, that's where we're going to be putting in our first front post double crochet. So I'm going to mark that. I'm going to mark that with our piece of yarn right there, okay? So I know that that's where my first front post double crochet is going to go. So getting my hook back on my work here, we're going to complete a front post double crochet around this stitch right here in row 2. So yarn over, we're going to go in between the stitches and back up and grab that entire post. We're going to yarn over and pull it back through, and we're going to give ourselves that little bit of wiggle room. I like to kind of just wiggle until my hook is right back up here where it belongs. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our first one. We know that we need one more because we're going to repeat this, so we're going to go into this stitch right here. We're going to go around it just like we went around this one because we're going to go around the post. So yarn over, we're going to insert our hook between that last one we did and this one, and we're going to get that entire post on here. We're going to yarn over and pull our yarn through and give it that wiggle room we need. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And there we have our second set of front post double crochets. And this is what's going to start our chevron. If I bring our work here, we're going to see that right here, this is, whoops, let me move this up here. We're going to see right here, this is where, this is what we've got going right here, and it's going to start our V's to go across with our chevron. Okay? So if we followed the pattern before, we know that we're going to do a half double crochet in each of the next 5 stitches. So once again, we're going to flip our work over and we're going to look for those little V's right here. And we see that we're going to skip this one because this was a front post double crochet down here. And we're going to skip this one because it was a front post double crochet from row 2. And right here is where we're going to put our next half double crochet. So yarn over, go through both the front loop and the back loop of that stitch, grab our yarn and pull it through, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on our hook. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, before you get too discouraged, because this is a lot of work, I want to assure you that just like building a house, if you have a good foundation, your house is going to be solid. This row 4 that we're working on, it's a foundation for what we're going to be working on. You're not going to have to mark this every single time because these beautiful front post double crochets are going to be our indicators where we're going to stick things from now on. So I don't want you to have to worry about having to do all of this tedious counting and marking. You're not going to have to do that forever in this block. So don't give up on me, okay? So we've completed our 5. Oops, let me get that out of there. We've completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half double crochet, and we know that we want to work our pattern again. So we're going to need to do a front post double crochet down here in row 2 at the next stitch. Well, let's count that over again, and we'll put our little marker in here with our yarn. This was the last one we did. We did 1, we did 2. We're going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one right here, this is the stitch we want. So we're going to go in and around that stitch because this is the post that we're going to want to put our next stitch in. I'm going to grab our little yarn that we're using to mark things, and I'm just going to pull it, I'm just going to pull it through so we've got that stitch marked, okay? And this is the last time we're really going to have to do this, I promise. Don't give up on me. Okay, we've got our hook back on our yarn here, on our loop, and we're going to work a front post double crochet in row 2. Remember, we're on row 4. row 2 all the way down here, just like we did in the prior little sets there. So we're going to yarn over, we're going to grab that entire post of that stitch, grab our yarn and pull it back through, give it a nice little wiggle so we can pull it back up where we need it up here at row 4, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We need one more. So we're going to go right here to our next stitch and do a front post double crochet. Yarn over, going to go around the post of that stitch, grab our yarn and pull it through, give it a nice little wiggle, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we have our 2 front post double crochet. We're going to flip our work over and we're going to see that we're going to skip this V, we're going to skip this V, and we're going to put our first half double crochet right here in this stitch right there. And we're going to do 5 half double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We got one more. We need to get one more in here because we need to have 24 all the way across. Now we want to end with 24. We have 23 stitches here. Let's look at this. We started with 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 5 is 9, 10, 11, plus 5 is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. We need 24. So in this very last little bit here, we're going to make sure that we add one more half double crochet so that we end with 24 on our row. Okay, so let me take our little stitch marker out here, and we've completed our first row of our front post double crochet, and we have 24 stitches across. So what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 1, and we're going to turn our work, and we're going to repeat row 3. Row 3 is going to be repeated for every odd number row that we have. So we just finished row 4. We're on row 5, but it's just a repeat of row 3. So every odd row is a repeat of row 3. We already did our chain 1 and turn. We're just going to do a single crochet across until we have 24 single crochet, and it should work out evenly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again, I really want you to focus on counting. This is important for this row. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm tangled up with my other work here. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and here's our last stitch right here, 24. Okay, so that's row 5. Okay, let's move on to row 6. We're going to chain 2 and we're going to turn. Now, since all of our odd number rows are all these single crochets across, we know based on our pattern that all of our even rows we're going to be using the half double crochet with some of our front post double crochets. So we're always going to chain up we're always going to chain up 2 when we work on our even rows. So according to our pattern, what we're going to do now is we're going to half double crochet in the first 3 single crochet. This row we did it just in 2. This time we're going to do it in 3. So here we go. Here's 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochet, and 3 half double crochet. And our numbers are going to be different every row because as we've seen, let me grab our sample again. As we see here in our sample, we're going to be offset by 1 stitch every row. We're either going to be 1 stitch forward every row or 1 stitch back every row. That's going to give us our chevron pattern. If we did our stitches in the same place every time, we would just have a row, a straight row of these front post double crochet. We don't want straight rows, we want beautiful chevrons this time. So it's really imperative that you pay attention to your stitch count because each row is going to be different, okay, until we get to a halfway point, and then we're going to reverse everything. So we're working on row 6 right here, and we know that we're going to be working down here in row 4, and we've got these 2 front post half double crochet. Now since we don't want to stack one on top of the other, we're going to work a front post double crochet around the post of this front post double crochet. This looks a little different from our half double crochets. When we go in, it just slides right in. You almost don't even have to fold your work. You can just slide your hook right underneath the post of that stitch right there. This is where we're going to be placing our stitch. Okay? So, knowing that we're going to skip this first one, and we're going to go to this one here, we're going to yarn over. We're just going to slide right underneath that stitch, yarn over and pull through our yarn right there, and we're going to give it that nice little wiggle because we want to bring it back up here to this row standard up here. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We need one more, and it's automatically going to be this next half double crochet right here. Okay, this is going to be easy to find from now on our work. Okay, so we're going to yarn over, we're going to go around the post of that half double crochet from row 4, yarn over and pull up our yarn, give ourselves that wiggle room, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we have our 2 front post double crochet. We're going to flip our work over. We're going to find that we missed this V and this V. We're going to intentionally skip those, and we're going to work a half double crochet in this V right here. It's our first available stitch of this row, and it's one of 5. So there's 1. Going to our next stitch, we're going to do a half double crochet. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. And look how number 5 is positioned over the front post double crochet from that prior row that we did our front posts. Now I know because this is just a single color, it might be a little bit difficult to see, but as this comes together, the shadowing and the texture of the block, you're going to start seeing where these are just fine. Okay, let's continue on. We finished our first repeat of 2 front post double crochet followed by 5 half double crochet. And we're going to go right back into our pattern. We're going to do a front post double crochet under the next stitch, which is right here. Remember, this one's underneath the last stitch we did. So we want this stitch here, this front post double crochet. So we're going to yarn over. We're just going to slide right into the post of that, right around it. It goes in so easily. Grab our yarn and pull it through and give it that little tug so you can come up to the row standard up here. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our first one. We need 2 of them. So we know that this very next half double crochet from row 4, not the single crochet from row 5, we want row 4 down here. We're skipping this entire row when we do these. We're going to do a front post double crochet right around this post right here. Yarn over, we're going to grab that post, yarn over and pull our yarn through and give it a nice little tug. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to look at our work. We're going to see that we skipped this V, we skipped this V. We're going to put our next half double crochet right there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and 5. Now this half double crochet is right over, it's right over our first front post from the prior row. We're going to repeat our pattern again, and we're going to go under the next stitch and grab from row 4. We're going to grab this second front post double crochet to complete the first front post double crochet of this pattern series. So there's 1 and 2. There's our first one, and we know our second one's going to be placed right here in this next half double crochet. So yarn over, we're going to grab that entire post, yarn over and pull our yarn through, give it a nice little tug, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to turn our work over, and we're going to see that we skipped this V, we skipped this V. We're going to put a half double crochet right there in this V, and we need 5. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and right here our very last stitch will be 5. So let's double check and make sure that we ended up with 24 stitches across our row. We started with 3, 4, 5, plus 5 is 10, 11, 12, plus 5 is 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24, and that's exactly what we want for this row. And you can see now that our front post double crochets, they're offset a little bit. They're going off to the side. This is going to start making our V pattern. We're going to chain 1 and turn and repeat row 3, which is just going to be single crochet all the way across. So while you enjoy the music, I'm going to count to myself and do 24 single crochet across our work. And 24. We're going to chain 2 and turn, and we're going to work on row 8 now. So keeping in mind that our front post double crochets are on our even rows, and we started with row 4. We know that this is row 6. Row 7 was a repeat of row 3, so we're going to work on row 8. And according to our pattern, we're going to half double crochet in the first 4 single crochet because we're going to be working over. This one was 2, this one was 3, this one's going to be 4. So a half double crochet in each of the first 4 stitches. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now look, once again, our 4th half double crochet is right over that first front post double crochet from 2 rows down. Now we're going to work into our pattern. We're going to start our pattern now of 2 front post double crochet and then 5 half double crochet. So this one is directly over this one. We're going to put our first front post double crochet around the post of this front post double crochet. So again, we're going to yarn over. We're just going to go right around that post. Just goes in so perfectly, nice and smooth. Pull our yarn back through and give it a nice little tug. yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our first one. We need one more because we're working in 2s here for our front post double crochet. We're going to go right into the very next stitch over. This is our next half double crochet of 2 rows down. And we're going to go around that stitch, grabbing just the post and making sure that just that post is on our hook. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And there we have our next set of our front post double crochet, and you can really start to see the V starting to form now. Now we want our 5 half double crochet. We're going to flip our work over and see that we skipped this V here. We skipped this V here, so our stitch is going to go into this V right here. We're going to put in a half double crochet, making sure we go through both the front loop and the back loop. Grab our yarn and pull it through. We have 3 loops on our hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3. That's our first half double crochet. We want 5. So here's 2. Working across, here's 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to go right back into our pattern. Again, this stitch is right over this first front post from 2 rows down. We want to work into the second one. So we're going to yarn over. We're going to go to that second front post double crochet and go underneath the post. Grab our yarn and pull it through. Give it a nice little tug and pull it up. Yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. And we're going to go to our very next stitch over, which is this half double crochet right here. Yarn over, we're going to go grab that post for that stitch. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and we're just going to continue that as we work across. We know that the next part of our repeat is we're going to look to see where the V's are that we skipped. We skipped this V and this V. This V right here is going to be where our half double crochet goes in. We're going to, 1, 2, into the third right here. And we're going to work across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 right there. Now we want to repeat what we're doing here, so we're going to skip this first front post and we're going to work around the post of the second one. So here we go. Here's our first front post double crochet and our second front post double crochet. We're going to turn our work over. We're going to skip 1, skip 2, and go right in here to our third, working a half double crochet. Now as we go across, once we get to this stage, we're not going to be able to complete 5 across. We're only going to have 4 to work with here, so we're just going to half double crochet in the last 4. So there was our first one. There's 1, 2, 3, and in our very last stitch there is 4. Okay, so here you can see our chevrons starting to work across. And at this stage, I'd like to encourage you to get your second square, and let's see how we're doing for our gauge. Here's my second square that we worked on. This is all half double crochets, and I just kind of want to lay my work on here and see how it's measuring up. So I think I'm doing pretty darn good as far as my gauge goes. We're going to have enough room on the side here for our first row of edging, and also on this side as well for our first row of edging. So my tension on this project is very, very good. If you find that you're over, you might want to either go down a size on your hook or tighten up just a little bit until you can reach that gauge of whatever your second square is. If you're really short, you might really need to loosen up a little bit or maybe go up a hook. Okay, so it's important to check your gauge, because if I were to set this down right now and find that I was way off, I'd be putting a lot of extra work in and then trying to figure out how to fix it at the end, and we don't want to do that. But so far, this one looks like it's fitting really well. So we just finished row 4, 6, 8. We're going to chain 1 and turn. This is going to be an odd row, which means it's the same as row number 3. We're going to do single crochet all the way across and end up with 24 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to count quietly to myself while you work on your block, and we will meet back up here at the end while we enjoy the music. And 24. We're going to chain 2 because we know our next row is going to be a row where we're going to be doing half double crochets and front post double crochets. This was row 4, row 6, row 8. That was row 9. We're going to work on row 10. And according to our pattern, we're going to complete a half double crochet in each of the first 5 single crochet. So here we go. Here's 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochet, 3 half double crochet, 4 half double crochet, and 5 half double crochet. Now laying our work down, we see that that 5th half double crochet is right over that first front post double crochet from 2 rows down. We're going to go into our double crochet, our front post double crochet pattern, and we know we want it on this second one. So we're going to put our yarn around our hook, go underneath that post, grab our yarn and pull it through, give it a little jiggle, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to go to our very next stitch of 2 rows down, right next door, and do a front post double crochet around that half double crochet, and we've completed that part of our pattern. We're going to turn our work over and see that we skipped 1, skipped 2, and we're going to go into the 3rd V up here at the top of both the front post, the front loop and the back loop, and complete 5 half double crochet. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We know that we're going to skip this first front post double crochet, and we're going to complete one right around this one. Yarn over, collect that post onto your hook, yarn over and pull your yarn through, give it a wiggle, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our first front post. We're going to yarn over and go right into that next stitch. When you can see it kind of separates, it gives you a really nice place to just go in and grab that post. Yarn over, pull your yarn up through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Turning our work over, we're going to skip 1, 2 V's and do a half double crochet in that 3rd stitch there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to go right into a front post double crochet right here. There's 1. And we're going to go right into the very next stitch here and complete a front post double crochet. There's 2. Turning our work over, we're going to skip 1 V, skip 2 V, and we're going to go right 1, 2, right there. We're going to do 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochet, and 3 half double crochet in the last bits of our row there. And there we go. Now can you guys see the V coming together? It's going to be really nice. We can't keep going this way forever. Eventually we're going to have to go back this way and things will change up. So when we get to that point, we'll take a little break. But for now, we're still moving in this direction. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to repeat row 3, which is 24 single crochet across the top of our row. So again, I'm going to count my stitches to myself while we enjoy the music, and I'll see you at the end of the row here. And 24. Now chain 2, and we're going to turn our work. This is row 4, 6, 8, 10. We're going to be working on row 12, and what we're going to do is we're going to half double crochet in the first 6 single crochet across. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we know now we're going to start our repeat pattern, so we're going to skip this first front post double crochet, and we're going to go around this second one with a front post double crochet, and we need 1 more in the very next stitch so that we have 2 of them according to our pattern. There we go. We're going to look back here, and we're going to skip 1, 2, and put a half double crochet in the 3rd stitch, and we're going to work 5 of those. 1, 2. I'm going a little faster now because I'm hoping that you've really got into a rhythm here. Here's 3, 4, and 5, and we're going to start our repeat again. We're right over this first one. We're going to work in our second one a front post double crochet, and we're going to do 1 more front post in the very next stitch. And there's the 2 we wanted. We're going to flip over. We're going to skip this first V, skip the second V, go into our 3rd V, and complete a half double crochet. So there's 1. We want 5. Here's 2, 3, 4, and we're going to do our repeat one more time so we can work on this chevron here. We're going to do a front post double crochet around that second one from 2 rows down. So here's our first front post double crochet. We're going to go into the very next stitch and complete a front post double crochet. There's 2. We're going to turn our work over. We're going to skip 1, skip 2. We're going to put a half double crochet in that third one, and we need 1 more. So we're going to end up with 2 of them right here at the end of row 12. And I think we've gone just about as far as we can go over here. We're going to have to eventually start coming back this way. So let's go ahead and chain 1 and turn our work, and let's repeat row 3 one more time. We're going to want 24 single crochet across. Okay, I think this is a good spot for a little intermission. Go ahead, grab yourself a fresh drink, visit the facilities if you need to, take the little puppies out for a potty break if you need to, and come back and we will work on the second half of our block. Okay, we're back from our intermission. We're going to chain 2 and we're going to turn our work. And here we've got rows 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. This was row 13. We're going to work on row 14. And row 14 is a repeat of row 10. So as we look at our pattern, we see that we're going to half double crochet across 5. This row we did 6, This row we did 5. We're going to go back this way, so we're going to do 5 half double crochet across. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, this is where we're going to start switching things up, friends. Okay, because we've come this way and now we want to go back this way, we want our 2 front post double crochet to go in these 2 stitches right here. This is going to be the odd man out now. So we're going to go around this half double crochets post first, and then around the post of this front post double crochet. And you'll see that our arrows will start coming back this way. So we kind of have to change gears a little bit on how we're thinking about what we're doing with our stitches, and we're going to reverse it a little bit. So we're going to do a yarn over. We're going to go around the post from this half double crochet right here, and we're going to complete our front post double crochet, and then we're going to complete a front post double crochet around that very first front post double crochet, just like that. And now you can see that we've come this way. We're going to start going back this way. So it stays the same as we were before. We're going to turn our work over. We're going to look that we missed this stitch. We missed this stitch. We're going to do a half double crochet in that third stitch over. 1, 2, we still want 5, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So we're over this stitch now, right here. Okay. And here's our first front post double crochet of that prior row, this row 12. So we're going to do a front post double crochet around that half double crochet right there prior to these stitches. Make sure you give that yarn a little wiggle and complete your double crochet there. And we're going to do another front post around that first front post. So we've got our 2 front post double crochet for this row, this sequence in this row. Once again, we're going to turn our work over. We're going to skip this V. We're going to skip this V, and we're going to work in this V right here with a half double crochet, just like what we've done before. We're going to do 5 of them. So here's 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to go right back into our pattern again. Here's our 2 front post double crochet from row 12. But remember, we're reducing, so we're going to go into the half double crochet first and do a front post, half double crochet, and then we're going to go right here to our first one. That's where we'll place our second one, right there for our front post double crochet. And we're going to finish up with 3 half double crochet. We're going to skip 1, skip 2. Our first half double crochet is going right here. So there's 1 and 2 and 3, and I apologize, the UPS man is here. Okay, and so we can see that our V is starting to come back this way now. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to complete our 24 single crochet across the top of our work again. 23, and 24. We're going to chain 2 and turn our work. Right here, row 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. We're going to go back to 10 on this row that we just did before. Now we're going to go back to row 8. And according to row 8, we're going to decrease again, and we're going to do a half double crochet in the first 4 single crochet. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to go right into our repeat pattern of our front post double crochets. Here's our 2 from 2 rows down. We're going to work just to this side of our first one, and we're going to do our first front post double crochet, and then we're going to go around that first one from 2 rows down and complete a front post double crochet. Looking at our work from behind here, we're going to skip 1, 2 V's, and we're going to go right into this stitch right here and complete our 5 half double crochets. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Going back to our repeat, here's our half double crochet that we're going to put a front post double crochet around. There's 1. And we're going to do our next one around the first front post double crochet of 2 rows down. There's 2. I trust you guys have this. I know you've got it. And if you don't, it's okay. You can stop, pause, rewind until you are comfortable doing this. So don't worry about it. Do what you need to do until you're comfortable with the pattern. We're going to skip 1, skip 2. We're going to put a half double crochet right there in that 3rd stitch. So there's 1. Remember, we want 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, we've got one more chevron to work on, so we know we have to repeat our pattern one more time. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go into this half double crochet right here and complete a front post double crochet. There's 1, and then we're going to go around our first front post double crochet from 2 rows before and complete our second front post double crochet. There's 2. Turning our work, we're going to see that we skip 1 stitch, skip 2 stitch, and we're going to put our half double crochet right there in that 3rd stitch, and we're going to work 4 half double crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. You see the V starting to come across now for our chevron stitch? Lovely. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do 24 single crochet across our block. 1, 2, 3, and enjoy the music while I get to the other end. 23, and 24. We're going to chain 2 and turn our work. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. We are on row 18, which is a repeat of row 6. So we're going to half double crochet in each of the first 3 single crochet. So here we go, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to go right back into our pattern. We're going to work our first front post double crochet right around the post of this half double crochet right here. Here's 1. And we're going to work our second one around this front post double crochet right here. Here is 2. And you can see that they're offset, so we know we're going in the right direction. Turning our work over, skip 1, skip 2, and we're going to put a half double crochet right there in that 3rd stitch. And we're going to do 5 of them. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I know you guys are getting this. I know it seemed difficult in the beginning, but I know that you've got it. So we're going to go right here and do our first front post double crochet and our second front post double crochet. We're going to skip 1 V, skip 2 V's, and half double crochet in our 3rd stitch there. We're going to do 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We've got one more sequence to do. We're going to work around the post of this half double crochet right here. There's 1 front post double crochet, and we're going to work in the front post of that front post double crochet right there in that post. There's 2. Skipping 1, skipping 2, working into our 3rd right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You see our little V's? We're going to work row 3 again, so we're going to chain 1 and turn. Our chevrons are almost done. We only have one more row of the front post double crochets to work on, but we've got to get there first. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to repeat row 3 and do 24 single crochet across our work. And 24. So we only have one more row working with our half double crochets and our front post double crochets. So we're going to chain 2 and turn. we're going to repeat row 4. And row 4, we're going to repeat that, which means we're going to half double crochet in the first 2, single crochet below. So here's 1 and here's 2. We're going to work a front post, double crochet right here just to this side of this front post, double crochet of our 2 rows down. There's 1. And we're going to work around this front post, double crochet for our second one. And there's 2. Turning our work over, we're going to skip 1, skip 2, and do a half double crochet in the third, right there, going through both the front loop and the back loop. We want 5 of them, so there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Repeating our pattern again here in the middle for our second chevron. We've got our front posts here. We're going to work in the half double crochet right here. So we're going to go around the post, give a little wiggle there, make sure we pull it up where it needs to be. There's 1 front post double crochet, and there's our second front post double crochet, skipping 1, skipping 2, half double crochet right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, this is our last time doing this for this block, guys. We're done with the chevron once we get done with this. Here's our 2 front post double crochet from 2 rows down. We've got our half double crochet right here. We're going to go ahead and complete a front post double crochet there, and a front post double crochet around that front post double crochet. Turning our work over, we know we're going to skip 1, skip 2, we're going to do a half double crochet in the next 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just like in row 4 from before, we've got 1 little extra one hanging here. We're going to put a half double crochet right there. And look at this, guys, your chevrons are done. We have 3 beautiful chevrons working across our block. They're textural, they look lovely, they're going to look really great in your Afghan, but we're not quite done yet. We still have to repeat row 3 again. So we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do 24 single crochet across. (23) and 24. We're not quite done. We're going to chain 2 and turn, and this is what could potentially be our very last row of this block before we get into the edging. So when you get to the end of this row, do not cut your work, do not finish it off. do not finish off your work. We're going to do a little bit of measuring. We're going to see where we are according to block 2, and then we're going to go right into our edging. But for now, we're going to work 24 half double crochet across this last row, 1 in every single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, whoops, and 24. Okay, there is our block. It's completed. Let's grab block 2, which is our half double crochet block. We're going to use this as a reference to see where we're at. And if I place this on here, I'm going to start here at the bottom. I don't know why my camera is so close today. If we look at what we've got right here, we're going to allow ourselves the 1 row here for our single crochet edging. We've got plenty of room on the side here for our single crochet edging, and 1 row here for our single crochet edging of the same color of our block. As I move this down, it looks like I'm a little bit short. So I think what I'm going to do for me, now if yours measures up, or if you're like up here and you know that your edging is going to give you that perfect square, let's test this with our theory that we like to use here of folding this over on itself. I mean, see, I'm still just a little bit short here. I'm going to do another row of single crochet. If you have checked yours and you're right where you need to be, you're ready to go on to your edging round 1. For me, I'm going to add an extra row of single crochet. Okay, I added that extra row of single crochet for me. This makes it look like it's going to fit much better for our gauge for our squares. Now, let's talk about our edging. We've discussed this in prior blocks before. When you're doing your edging, you want the right side of your work facing up towards you. Okay, so when you're putting your edging on, you're going to want these pretty little chevrons to be facing you. Depending on whether you're left-handed or right-handed, depending on whether or not you needed to add an extra row, that's going to determine how you start your edge. Now, because I added an extra row and I'm originally left-handed, I have now ended up where I'm going to be able to go right into my edging with my square facing up towards me, so everything will be appropriate. If you ended a row and your work is facing away from you, if the correct side of your work is not facing you, you may need to finish off this color and then start over in a corner with your edging so that everything is facing you appropriately. So please keep that in mind. So I've got my work facing up towards me. I've chained 1, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that very first single crochet, and I'm going to do 3 single crochet. 1, whoops, 2, and 3. Okay, here's where we get into a little bit more math again. We have 24 single crochet across. We're going to use 1 here for this corner, and we're going to use 1 here for this corner. That means we're going to end up with 22 single crochet to work with, and we want 25. So we're going to have to add 3 as we go across. So I think every 7 stitches or so, I'm going to add an extra. I'm going to count as we go across because we want 25 stitches in between here and here. So here we go. Here I'm going to do 1 single crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to put an extra 1 in right here, so there's 8. Going across, we've got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm going to add 16 right here. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. It's like playing Russian roulette. 24. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 25 right here, and I'm going to do my corner. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we have our corners with 3 in each corner, and we have 25 single crochet across the top of our row. We're going to rotate our work just a quarter of a turn there, and we need to work 25 single crochet across our work right here. And you've seen us do this before. I'm going to fold my work in half, and I'm going to add a stitch marker at about the halfway point, and then unfold it. And I know that between here and here, I either need to have 12 or 13, and then between here and here, I need to have 12 or 13. If I get 12 and then 13, I'll have 25 across, and then I'll be able to put my 3 in my corner here. But because we don't have well-defined stitches to work in across here, I have to guesstimate. I have to put my stitches where I can, and it's always nice to have a little stitch marker here to let me know where my halfway point is. So I'm going to do 1 single crochet, 2, 3, I'm going to double up right here, 4, maybe not, let's do 5. Let's see where I'm going here. 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I'm going to be okay. So 5. I'm not going to double up anything. Let's see what we get. I'm going to do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So there I've got my first 12, and I can tell I'm a little tight on it, so it's gonna bunch up a little bit on me, but it'll be okay. It'll work itself out. So there's 12. I'm going to take my stitch marker out and know that I have to do 13 more before I get to the end of the corner, saving the corner right here for our corner of our edging. So I want to do 13 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So we have 25, and I'm going to go right here to this corner, and I'm going to put in, make sure I get a really nice couple of strands of yarn there, 3 single crochet to make my corner, 2 and 3. And there we go. There's our second part there. This is the second side of our edging for round 1 of our edging. I'm going to turn my work a quarter turn. And again, I want to have 25 single crochet between this corner and this corner. So I'm going to have to add some in there again. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I doubled up in this stitch right here. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm going to put 16 in that same stitch to double up. 17, 18, 19, 20. I'm going to do 21. I'm going to double up with 22, 23, 24, 25, and here I am at the corner, so I can do 3 in my corner. So I can round that corner. It gives me a nice little round edge there. Round edge, that's an oxymoron, isn't it? Okay. Only one more to do. Let me make sure my tail's tucked behind here. So again, I'm going to fold my work in half. And I'm going to use my stitch marker to indicate where my halfway point is. And once again, after I've unfolded, I know I need to have either 12 in between here or 13, and then 12 or 13. And yeah, I'm a little crooked. This one might need to be blocked. But you know, once you sew all of your squares together, they pretty much do, they level out pretty well. So right here, I'm going to try to get either 12 or 13 into my side here for my round 1 of edging before I get to that. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh goodness. Now see here, I kind of got a little bit too close right here because 12 and 13, you know, I'm going to go back, I'm going to start over, and it's okay to do this. Here I've got my 3 in the corner. I'm going to space the first few out a little bit more. I think I was a little overzealous there, so let's try that again. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and let's put 13 right here. We're going to take our stitch marker out, and we know that we're going to need 12 more before I get to the corners. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and let's go right here for 12. Perfect, look at that. And we're just going to slip stitch into our first single crochet of our first round of edging to just finish off that little corner there. I'm going to chain 2. I always like to end my work with chaining 2. It gives me a much tighter knot, and I've never had one come undone. So I pull my yarn through loosely, and then I just pinch it with my fingernail on my finger, and I give it a nice little pull, and it just makes this nice snug little knot. It is not going anywhere. All right, so there's round 1 of our edging, and we're done with our color B. We're going to go to color A, whatever color you're using for your edging. Mine happens to be white. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find any corner I want. Doesn't matter, any corner. And I'm going to go to the middle single crochet in a corner, and I'm just going to slip stitch my second color onto here real quick and chain 1. Okay? Now in this corner I'm going to do 3 single crochet. So here's 1, 2, and 3. There we go. I'm going to rotate my work a little bit. Now I'm going to work across here. Again, your work is facing up towards you. You want both rows of your edging with your work facing up towards you, right side towards you. Okay? Now we're going to work 27 single crochet across until we get to this corner here. So here we go. And again, it's personal preference if you want to crochet over your tails and then sew in what's left, or if you want to work over your tails or tuck them to the back. It doesn't matter. It's personal preference. I like to tuck mine to the back. So here we go. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and right here is 27. And I'm at this corner now. And at this corner, I'm going to put 3 single crochet in the corner single crochet from the prior round. 2 and 3. So on round 2 of our edging, we've got our first corner here. We've got 27 single crochet across. And our second corner here, we're just going to rotate our work. And this time we don't have to use our stitch markers. We don't have to do any fancy math or adding stitches or taking away stitches. We're just going to work, again, 27 stitches in between our corners and do our single crochet 3 times in the very corner and work that all the way around. 27, and I'm here at the corner. I'm going to do 3 right here in my corner. 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to turn my work. And with the white, the chevrons really they're starting to pop. I'm telling you, my A colors really making the gray stand out beautifully. All right, here we go down this next side of our round 2 of edging. $26, and right there 27. I'm going to squeeze 3 little corner ones right here. 1, 2, and 3. Rotate my work for that final time. Aren't those pretty? The white just really helps the shadowing and helps the chevrons really pop. All right, on my final stretch here for round 2 of my edging, and I just have to do 27 more single crochets and I'm done with this block this week. And there we go. My chevron square is finished. Yeah, it looks a little wobbly, but it's going to be okay once we get everything sewn together. Now, I'd like to encourage you, when you get to this stage of your work, go back and sew in all of your ends, okay? Don't save it until your Afghan is all put together, because then that's just going to be a lot of extra work that you don't want. So take the time now and just use an embroidery needle and go ahead and sew your ends in. Sew them in the back of your work, not the front pretty side, do the back side. And I like to just sew in underneath several stitches in one direction and pull that yarn through. Don't pull it too tight, you just want it hidden. Then sew back exactly where you just came from, but don't go right where you left off, right here, see? Go in a little bit, go back over a couple of these stitches, and that will kind of lock your thread into place. It'll lock your yarn into place, and you're going to have a lot less chance of your yarn coming undone as you use this blanket, because as you use this blanket, it's going to be stretched and pulled and rolled up in and curled in, and it's going to be loved. And if you have just a tail sticking there that hasn't been sewn in properly, it's going to come out and you're going to panic and you're going to think that all of your work's coming undone. And then I always go back a third time. Okay? And then just cut this, cut it close, but don't cut your work. Make sure you don't get too close. And then just go around and sew in the rest of your tails. All right, friends, that's it for today. We've finished up our beautiful chevron pattern. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember that these are available in tutorials for right-handed and left-handed. Tutorials for the squares that we've done before this will be put together and uploaded in addition to the lives that we did. The lives, we had some technical difficulties, so I will be going back and recreating these for you if you're joining us at this stage of the game for our crochet along. And then always remember that tutorials will be coming out on Mondays for our next block, and then the whole pattern will be released on Thursdays. The written pattern will be in the description below. Make sure that you please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying this video and if you enjoy making this Afghan with us for our crochet along. And if you find that you have someone that would love to join us, please share the video. Certainly would appreciate it. All right, guys, I'm off to do some chores around the farm. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you next week. Until then, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.